Every state has a founding myth, a story it tells about itself to justify its existence and the way its power is organized. In the United States, that myth is the Constitution, a social contract between free citizens. In modern Iran, the founding myth is something far older, far deeper, and far more absolute. It is a religious doctrine called Velayat-e Faqih, the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. And it is the single most important idea in the Islamic Republic, because without it, the entire system has no reason to exist. The concept was not new. For centuries, Shia Islamic scholars had debated the role of religious authority during the absence of the 12th Imam, the messianic figure whom Shia Muslims believe went into hiding over 1,000 years ago and will one day return to establish justice on earth. In his absence, who governs? Who interprets divine law? Most senior clerics argued that scholars should guide the faithful in matters of religion, but stay out of politics. Governance was a worldly affair, best left to kings and parliaments.
One man disagreed. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, while still in exile in the 1970s, developed a radical reinterpretation of this doctrine. He argued that in the absence of the hidden imam, a single supreme Islamic jurist, the most learned, the most just, the most pious, must assume not just religious authority, but total political power. This jurist would serve as God's representative on earth, guiding the nation not through elections or constitutions, but through divine mandate. His authority would be absolute. It would stand above the president, above the parliament, above the judiciary, and above the military. It would answer to no earthly institution, only to God. When the revolution succeeded in 1979, Khomeini did not simply seize power, he embedded this doctrine into the very foundation of the new state. The Constitution of the Islamic Republic was written around it. Article 5 declares that in the absence of the 12th Imam, leadership of the nation belongs to a just and pious jurist, the supreme leader. Article 57 states that all branches of government operate under his supervision. Article 110 grants him control over the armed forces, the judiciary, state media, and the power to declare war and peace.
The result is a system unlike anything else in the modern world. Iran holds elections, it has a parliament, it has a president, but none of these institutions hold sovereign power. The supreme leader does. He appoints the head of the judiciary. He appoints the commanders of the military and the Revolutionary Guard. He controls the state broadcasting corporation. He has veto power over any policy, any law, any decision. And he is not elected by the people. He is selected by a closed body of senior clerics, the Assembly of Experts, whose own candidates must first be approved by another body loyal to the supreme leader himself. This is the architecture of power in the Islamic Republic. It is circular by design. Every mechanism of accountability leads back to the supreme leader. Every check on power is itself checked by his authority. And at the center of it all sits a single doctrine, Velayat-e Faqih, that transforms one man's religious scholarship into the legal and moral foundation of an entire nation. It is not merely a political system, it is a theology of governance. And for over 4 decades, it has held. The Islamic Republic of Iran holds elections. It has a parliament. It has a president. On paper, the system carries all the markings of a functioning democracy. But beneath this surface lies a mechanism designed to ensure that real power never leaves the hands of the clerical establishment. That mechanism operates through 2 institutions, the Guardian Council and the Assembly of Experts. The Guardian Council is composed of 12 men. 6 are Islamic jurists, appointed directly by the supreme leader. 6 are lawyers, nominated by the head of the judiciary, who is himself appointed by the supreme leader. Together, these 12 men hold extraordinary power. Every single piece of legislation passed by the Iranian parliament must be reviewed and approved by the Guardian Council. If the council determines that a law contradicts Islamic principles or the Constitution, it is rejected. Parliament cannot override this decision.
But the council's most potent weapon is not its veto over laws. It is its veto over people. Before any election in Iran, presidential, parliamentary, or even local, every candidate must be approved by the Guardian Council. The council reviews each applicant and decides who is permitted to run. In practice, this means that reformists, liberals, and anyone deemed insufficiently loyal to the system can be quietly eliminated from the process before a single vote is cast. The Iranian people go to the polls believing they have a choice, but the menu has already been written. Then there is the Assembly of Experts. This body consists of 88 senior clerics, elected by the public for 8-year terms. Its constitutional role is extraordinary. It is the only institution with the authority to select, supervise, and theoretically even remove the supreme leader. On paper, this makes it the most powerful oversight body in the entire system.
In reality, the Assembly of Experts has never once challenged a supreme leader. It has never issued a public criticism. It has never attempted to use its power of removal. And there is a structural reason for this silence. The candidates who run for the Assembly of Experts must first be approved by the Guardian Council, whose jurist members are appointed by the supreme leader. The body that is supposed to hold the leader accountable is filtered by a council that the leader himself controls. This is the elegant trap at the heart of the Islamic Republic. Every institution appears to check another. Every body appears to have oversight. But trace any line of authority far enough, and it curves back to a single point: the supreme leader. The Guardian Council filters the elections. The elections produce a compliant assembly. The assembly reappoints the leader, and the leader reappoints the council. The circle is closed. Democracy exists in form. Power exists in one place. About 150 kilometers south of Tehran lies a city that most outsiders have never heard of, but that shapes the destiny of 88 million Iranians. This is Qom, the spiritual capital of the Islamic Republic, the seat of Shia scholarship, and the place where the men who rule Iran are made. Qom is home to hundreds of religious seminaries, known in Persian as hawze. These are not universities in the Western sense. They have no fixed curriculum, no standardized degrees, no graduation ceremonies. A student, called a talabeh, enters the system as a young man and may spend 10, 20, even 30 years studying Islamic jurisprudence, philosophy, Arabic grammar, and Quranic interpretation under the guidance of senior scholars. Progress is measured not by exams, but by the recognition of one's teachers and peers. The hierarchy is steep and deeply formal. At the bottom are the thousands of young seminarians who fill the classrooms and dormitories of Qom. Above them are the Hojatul Islams, mid-ranking clerics who have completed years of advanced study. Higher still are the Ayatollahs, senior jurists whose scholarship has earned them the right to issue independent religious rulings. And at the very top, a handful of men carry the title of Grand Ayatollah, Marja-e Taqlid, a source of emulation, whose legal opinions are followed by millions of believers across the Shia world. But Qom is not merely an academic institution, it is a pipeline to political power. The Islamic Republic was built by seminary graduates, and it continues to be staffed by them. Clerics trained in Qom sit on the Guardian Council, lead the judiciary, run the State Broadcasting Corporation, direct intelligence agencies, and manage the vast religious foundations that control billions of dollars in assets. The seminary does not just produce scholars, it produces the ruling class. The system is also self-sustaining. Senior clerics in Qom receive religious taxes, khums and zakat, directly from their followers, giving them financial independence from the state. This creates a parallel economy within the clerical establishment, where a grand ayatollah with a large following can command resources rivaling those of a government ministry. Scholarship and wealth reinforce each other, and both reinforce political influence. And this is what makes Qum so central to understanding Iran. It is not simply a city of prayer and study. It is the factory that produces the personnel, the ideology, and the financial networks that sustain the Islamic Republic. Every supreme leader, every chief justice, every head of the Guardian Council has passed through its corridors. To control Qum is to control the supply of legitimacy itself. And as long as the seminaries continue to produce loyal clerics who believe in the system endures. After the revolution of 1979, the new Islamic government seized the vast wealth of the Shah, his family, and his closest allies. Palaces, factories, farmland, hotels, shipping companies, billions of dollars in assets were confiscated overnight. But this wealth did not go to the state treasury. It did not become public property managed by elected officials. Instead, it was placed into a new kind of institution, religious foundations known as Bonyads. The Bonyads were established as charitable organizations tasked with serving the poor, supporting war veterans, and funding religious activities. They were placed under the direct authority of the supreme leader, outside the control of the president, the parliament, or any government ministry. They pay no taxes, they submit no public financial reports, they answer to no regulatory body. In the decades since their creation, the Bonyads have grown into some of the largest economic conglomerates in the entire Middle East. The most powerful of these is the Astane Quds Razavi, the foundation that manages the holy shrine of Imam Reza in the city of Mashhad. This single Bonyad controls an empire of farmland, factories, construction firms, hotels, and media companies. Its estimated value runs into tens of billions of dollars, making it one of the wealthiest religious institutions on earth. Its custodian is appointed directly by the supreme leader. Another giant is the Bonyad-e Mostazafan, the foundation of the oppressed. Created from the seized assets of the former regime, it grew into a sprawling conglomerate with interests in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, tourism, and telecommunications. At its peak, it employed hundreds of thousands of people and operated across virtually every sector of the Iranian economy. Together, the Bonyads are estimated to control between 10 and 20% of Iran's gross domestic product. They operate as parallel economies, vast, untaxed, and unaccountable. Their leadership is drawn from the clerical establishment. Their profits fund religious institutions, seminaries, and political networks loyal to the supreme leader. They are the financial engine of the theocratic state. And this is why meaningful economic reform in Iran remains virtually impossible. Any attempt to restructure the economy, to attract foreign investment, to modernize industries, or reduce corruption inevitably runs into the Bonyads. Reformist presidents have tried and failed. Sanctions have squeezed the public economy, but left the Bonyads largely untouched. The foundations exist in a protected space, shielded by religious authority, political connections, and the simple fact that too many powerful people depend on them. The Bonyads are the final piece of the clerical puzzle. The doctrine provides the ideology, the councils provide the political control, the seminaries provide the personnel, and the Bonyads provide the money. Together, they form a system that is self-funding, self-legitimizing, and self-perpetuating. The clergy does not merely rule Iran, it owns it.